The Caldrec slave market reeked of desperation and disinfectant. Oliver Hayes stood among the crowd of alien bidders, his human frame dwarfed by the towering Vorthians and the insectoid Kyrix merchants. His military uniform, worn and faded from 3 tours across the outer rim, marked him as something unusual here. Humans were still relatively new to the galactic community, their reputation preceding them like wildfire through dry grass. The auctioneer, a gelatinous block with translucent skin, gurgled through its speech translator. Next lot, 1 adult Draken female and her brood. 5 hatchlings, all healthy. Opening bid, 2,000 credits. Oliver's jaw tightened. He had heard about the Draken, a once proud species of dragon-like beings whose homeworld had been destroyed in the Kryn Sector War. Survivors were rare, and slavers had taken advantage of their desperation. The galactic community turned a blind eye. After all, the Draken had no allies, no fleet, no voice. The doors at the far end of the auction house slid open, and handlers dragged in a massive chain. At its end was a creature of terrible beauty. She stood nearly 8 feet tall even on all fours, her scales a deep crimson that caught the harsh lights like rubies. Her wings were bound, her head lowered in defeat. Behind her, connected by smaller chains, 5 young Drakens stumbled forward, none larger than a human child. The mother's amber eyes swept the crowd, and when they met Oliver, something passed between them. Recognition, perhaps, or maybe just the shared understanding of what it meant to be helpless in a universe that didn't care. 2,000, a Vorthian rumbled. 3, clicked a Kyrix, its mandibles twitching with interest. Oliver's hand went to his pocket, feeling the weight of his discharge bonus. 30,000 credits, his entire savings from 6 years of service. Money he'd planned to use to buy a homestead on New Terra, to finally settle down after watching too many friends die in battles for planets whose names he couldn't even pronounce. The mother dragon's gaze hadn't left him. One of the hatchlings, the smallest with scales of midnight blue, looked up at him too. Its eyes were too intelligent, too aware. 4,000, someone bid. The mother's wing twitched against her bonds. A handler shocked her with a prod and she barely flinched. But the hatchlings cried out, a sound that cut through Oliver's chest like shrapnel. 30,000 credits, Oliver heard himself say. The auction house fell silent. The translator devices buzzed with confusion and recalculation. The auctioneer's gelatinous body rippled. Did the human just bid 30,000 credits? You heard me, Oliver said, his voice carrying the steel of someone who had given orders under fire. 30,000, for all of them. And I want them unharmed, unchained, and delivered to Docking Bay 7 within the hour. The Vorthian who had been bidding turned its massive head toward Oliver, eyes narrowing. Human, you realize that's more money than you have? Yes. Oliver stepped forward, pulling out his credit chip. Scan it. You'll find it's good. The Anna's Promise, Oliver's decommissioned military transport, wasn't much to look at, but it was home. He had named it after his sister, lost in the First Contact War. The ship had enough space for a crew of 12, though he'd been flying it solo for the past year. Now, he watched as the handlers, more carefully, after his threat to break fingers, ushered the Dragon family into the cargo hold he'd hastily converted into living quarters. He'd torn out the old weapons racks and put down thermal blankets. It wasn't much, but it was something. The moment the chains came off, the mother dragon spread her wings, massive membranes of crimson and gold that filled the space. The hatchlings immediately rushed to her, climbing over each other to press against her scales. Food's in the dispensers, Oliver said, gesturing to the units he'd programmed. Waste disposal is through that door. The temperature controls are here. I've set them for high heat, but adjust if you need to. The mother dragon stared at him, unmoving. Oliver sighed. Look, I know you probably don't trust humans. Hell, I'm not sure I trust us most days. But you're safe here. No chains, no cages. I'm taking you to Sanctuary Station. There's a Draken settlement there. Small, but it's something. Still, she said nothing. Oliver turned to leave, to give them space. Why? The voice was like gravel sliding over silk, rough from disuse but unmistakably intelligent. Oliver turned back. The mother dragon had lowered her head to his level. Why did you spend your fortune on us? What do you want? Oliver thought about the question. About the buddies he'd lost. About the civilians he couldn't save. About the fact that the galaxy was full of species that could fly between stars, but couldn't be bothered to stop slave markets from operating openly. Because someone should, he said simply, and today I could. 3 days into the journey, Oliver was running diagnostics on the navigation system when he heard small claws on the deck plating. He turned to find the smallest hatchling, the blue one, standing in the doorway of the cockpit. "Hey there, little one. You lost?" The hatchling tilted its head, then carefully walked forward. Up close, Oliver could see the intelligence in those golden eyes, the careful way it moved. "Mama says you are kind," the hatchling said, its voice high and musical. "Says humans are warriors, but you chose mercy." Oliver felt something crack in his chest. "What's your name?" "Anna," the hatchling said. "Mama let me choose it." "From your ship's name. Is that okay?" Oliver had to clear his throat. Yeah, that's more than okay." "The others are scared still," Anna continued, climbing into the co-pilot's chair that was far too large for her. "But I'm not. I think you're like Mama. You protect." Over the next few days, Anna became Oliver's shadow. She'd watch him work on the ship, ask endless questions about stars and engines and human history. The other hatchlings slowly warmed up too, though they were more reserved. Their mother, whose name Oliver learned, was Skyreth, watched it all with careful eyes. On the 5th day, as Oliver was teaching Anna how to read star charts, Skyreth entered the cockpit. "We arrive at Sanctuary tomorrow," she said. "That's right," Oliver confirmed. "And then you leave. Return to your human world." Oliver hadn't really thought about it. "I suppose so." Skyreth was quiet for a long moment. "My people have a tradition. When someone saves a Draken's life, they become kin. You saved 6 lives. By our law, you are family." "I don't need," Oliver started. "It is not about what you need," Skyreth interrupted. "It is about what you have earned. You gave us freedom when you could have chosen comfort. You treated us as people when the galaxy treats us as property." Anna looked up at Oliver with those golden eyes. "Stay with us, please?" Oliver looked at the small dragon who had chosen his sister's name, at the mother who had survived unspeakable horrors with her children, at the life he'd planned versus the one unfolding before him. "I don't know anything about raising dragons," he said softly. "And I knew nothing about trusting humans," Skyreth replied. "We will learn together." 6 months later, the Anna's promise had been modified extensively. The cargo hold was now a proper dwelling, with heating rocks and flight space. Oliver had taken contracts running supplies to the Draken settlements, helping reunite scattered families, evacuating refugees from hostile stations. Anna had grown, still the smallest of her siblings, but fierce and curious. She'd learned to read Galactic Standard, to help navigate, to understand the ship's systems. The other hatchlings were coming into their own too, each with distinct personalities. They were making a supply run to a frontier station when it happened. Pirates, a small gang thinking one transport would be easy prey. They hadn't counted on the ship's modifications or the fury of a protective dragon mother, or the combat experience of a human soldier. The fight was brutal but brief. When it was over, Oliver was checking the ship for damage when Anna came running, her small wings flapping with excitement. "Did you see, Dad? Did you see? I used the defensive cannons just like you taught me." Oliver froze. Anna froze. Oliver, I meant... But Oliver had already knelt down, pulling the small dragon into a hug. "I saw. You did great. I'm proud of you." "Really?" Anna's voice was small. "Really?" Oliver pulled back to look at her. "And Anna? You can call me Dad, if you want to." The sound Anna made was somewhere between a chirp and a roar of joy. Within seconds, the other hatchlings had piled in, having heard everything, followed by Skyreth, who settled her massive form around all of them. "You realize," Skyreth said, amusement in her voice, "that by Draken law, this makes us officially a clan. You're stuck with us now, human." Oliver looked at the family he'd somehow acquired, the dragon mother who had become his partner in 100 adventures, the 5 hatchlings who looked at him with trust and affection, the ship that had become more than a vessel, but a home. He thought about the homestead he'd never bought, the quiet retirement he'd planned, the simple life he'd imagined. Then he smiled. "Stuck with you?" He shook his head. "I think I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." Outside the viewports, the stars stretched infinite and bright, and the Anna's promise flew on, carrying a family that chose each other when the universe had tried to tear them apart. In the grand story of humanity's place among the stars, it was just one small chapter. But for Oliver Hayes and his dragon family, it was everything.